there are 3 players that have won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times or more. That's Ben Wallace,
Oh, this is about Rudy Gobert. Okay.
Mutombo, and Rudy Gobert. You think Rudy Gobert could possibly be the Defensive Player of the Year again this year? Mars, that would be 5 in 8 years. If he wins the Defensive Player of the Year this year, how are we talking about him?
I mean, who have the most ever? Like by himself, not tied with 2 other people.
Yep.
I don't know. How do we talk about the person with the most MVPs ever?
That's what I'm thinking, Mars, because I'm thinking the league MVP is, I think the league MVP is a little bit more profound. I won't argue that point. But I think the Defensive Player of the Year is right around that. I think it's the MVP. I think it's the finals MVP. And I think the Defensive Player of the Year is right there. So if we got a guy who's the Defensive Player of the Year who won it 5 times within 8 years. Now, sure, there's guys who win the league MVP who aren't the best player in the league. There are guys who win the Defensive Player of the Year who aren't the best defensive player in the game. However, to win it 5 times, when can I say that Rudy Gobert was the best defensive player in the game?
2021.
And on top of me saying in 2021, I also did this during a time when there were awesome defenders. Just so we clear, Moss, Anthony Davis was in the league when I did this. Joel Embiid was in the league when I did this. Bam was in the league when I did this. Evan Mobley was in the league when I did this. Right? Wemby was in the league Wemby just showed up, but Wemby was in the league when I did this. Like these are the guys who were around when I did this. Because I had this conversation about Scottie Pippen and Kawhi Leonard. And when Kawhi Leonard won back-to-back Defensive Players of the Year, like he's going against Draymond, he's going against Whiteside, he's going up against DeAndre Jordan. Meanwhile, Scottie Pippen is having to beat out Dennis Rodman and Gary Payton and guys like that, Olajuwon, David Robinson. So if I'm looking at what Rudy Gobert did over an 8-year span, do I now have to not talk about him as a defensive player, Mars? No, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about as a big.
Oh my God. You're talking about what as a big?
I'm talking about as an all-time great big, because like we talk about scorers, like I sit up here and I listen to you dudes talk to me about the best scorers, and they put themselves in conversations as being the best players. Well, if I'm the best defensive player of a generation, would I now be in that conversation as one of the best players of that generation, not just the defensive player?
Is Dikembe in those conversations? Have you ever heard anyone be like, Dikembe is one of the best players of the 90s and 2000s?
I've heard people say he's one of the best defensive players. Yes.
That's what I'll say about Rudy Gobert.
We never bring up Dikembe. When we talk about the big man era of the 90s, we never bring up Dikembe. And you know what? Shame on me.
And I was about to say, why not?
No, shame on me. Because I should. But because chill, Dikembe wasn't a top 5 big in the 90s. Arguably top 10 big in the 90s. Arguably?
Well, to be fair, Rudy was definitely a top 5 big for some years.
Let's be clear about that.
Center. Rudy was definitely a top 5. Says a bit about the position, but he was a top 5 center for some years.
So
but I wasn't just a defensive player. I was a double guy. Let's be clear about that. And I know you hate that, Mars.
I'm staying out of that.
Yeah, I know you hate layups. But I mean, we had a stretch where I was averaging 15 a game in the playoffs. And my team was routinely in the playoffs. But
now, two things about that though, Ron, because every time we get into that, what would Jokic do in the 90s conversation, Chill does always bring up Dikembe and Alonzo Mourning.
I mean, but he says that he would fry Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah, he would fry the best defenders, which is the conversation that Dikembe's in.
But
he
Rudy be better in the 80s
he bust
and 90s?
Rudy Gay ass too, though. I mean, he bust Rudy Gobert ass too.
I mean, he's great. Like Rudy, I think Rudy is like underrated by like fans and whatnot. Maybe even players. I think players have underrated Rudy Gobert. But I'm not. I mean, it depends on how far down we're going down the list of all-time bigs to include Rudy Gobert. Like, I'm not entertaining Rudy Gobert top 10 bigs of all time conversations. I'm not entertaining Rudy Gobert top 15 bigs of all time conversations because of some defensive player of the year.
25.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not. I'm not even really a thought process. But if we're talking about like the best defenders of the 21st century, big or not, yeah, I think Rudy Gobert is in those conversations, top 10, wherever you want to put him. Like he's that impactful defensively.
What puts me in that other conversation? What puts me in the bigs conversation?
I'm gonna look at the big list that you sent me, the top 10 bigs.
Being good at the sport, like
It's gonna be-
I don't know why
it's
we.
gonna
why
be-
we-
If I'm the best defensive, if I'm the
There's always going to be
No,
people
but
chill.
Rudy-
that
no,
remember
Rudy
him
is
being
good.
able to
So,
play
so
well.
the list
when
Chill
I say
sent me,
being good at the
the
sport.
list Chill sent me of his top 10 bigs was Kareem, Wilt, Bill Russell, Hakeem, Shaq, Moses, David Robinson, Jokic, Patrick Ewing, and Dwight Howard. Respectfully,
Rudy's
I'm not
in
putting
that
Rudy
category.
Gobert in those talks.
He's not.
Rudy's not
he's
top
not
10,
close.
but we've had this conversation
He's
about
not
Rudy
close.
plenty of times, and I've said plenty of times that a guy that you run absolutely zero offensive sets for, that has averaged double figures multiple times in his career, I think says a lot about his impact on the offensive end of the court. Offensive rebounding, catching lobs, being that vertical threat, I think that means something. And this is a guy that you run absolutely nothing for on the offensive end. Can still give you 15 points a game. Rudy Gobert is extremely underrated as this basketball.
He's averaging
player all around.
14 over damn near the last decade.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
curious.
But chill, there's always-
Rudy Gobert might be the most underrated basketball player we've ever seen.
Okay, be that as it may, Ox, I'm curious, and I would like to know: is Rudy Gobert even top 10 today?
Top 10
And why
what?
is that, Ron? And why is that,
Ron,
Ron?
don't do that, Ron.
Wait, top 10 what? Top 10
Top
what?
10
players.
what?
Top 10 center.
Top
Top
10 center in the
today.
league right now?
Ron, come on, bro. That's
He not-
that's-
he's
that's
not
what
even
I'm
top
saying.
five
today.
This is my
He-
point.
but he's not-
Top
I'm
5. Yeah,
telling the
top,
truth,
top
he
5.
not
Sure,
top
but he
10.
might,
He
he
said
might, he's
top
probably
10.
top
Ron,
10.
was he ever a top in your estimation, Ron? Was he ever a top 5 big in the game?
Probably at some point, yeah.
The
at
late
some point.
2010s, early 2020s.
Yeah. But
But
at
chill,
the
there's
same
always
time,
gonna
we
be
kinda
like
all
a-
know the case with that.
What's
There's
the
always going
case
to be
with
like a
that?
cohort of fans who
Position was weaker.
remember him not being able to play in the playoffs. Like, there's always going to be that. Like, how can you be one of the all-time greats when you can't even finish games?
But I mean, but here's the difference with that, though. The
I mean,
difference with
Shea
that is,
just didn't finish the game.
well, not only that, real talk, but that narrative that he hasn't been able to finish games. I mean, that actually went away because he did get better on the perimeter. He did get better as a defender. He was able to switch. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, did he not in the closeout game go almost 25 and 25 against the Lakers? Did he not do that?
We weren't
Okay,
playing
that,
the
I mean,
center,
we got to take that with the
Fair.
Yeah, but back in the
Demi,
day
that's
when
the-
you didn't play a center, that meant Rudy Gobert became unplayable. But this time you didn't play a center, and Rudy Gobert looked like Will Chamberlain.
Exposed.
That's great.
Yo, that's if you ask me, not playing
Yeah,
Rudy
he
Gobert in the
progressed.
playoffs, that's a coaching problem. That's
I
not a
think
Rudy
that's a
Gobert
coaching
issue.
problem,
That's a
too.
coaching error.
Like you can't find minutes for him. You have to be able to find minutes for him. You have to.
Yeah, but when he
But
was
got
winning defensive
minutes.
players
He
of
was
the year, he
exposed in
was
his
not
minutes,
finishing
so he
games
got
too.
benched.
And then he
It's
got
a- it's a
better. Real
coaching
talk.
error.
That's the point.
Yeah, he got better years later, but I'm talking about that specific incident against the Clippers.
Right.
Here now, mind you, this is Chill and Ox, people who try to have some respect and decorum towards coaches,
Sure.
right? So let's have some decorum towards coaching. Okay,
100%.
if I have a player, Ox, that's out there getting fried, he's going to get benched.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen.
Because Terrence Mann hit some corner threes.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we make adjustments. We'll talk. We make adjustments.
Which, by the way, he never
That
did
was
that
make
again.
adjustments.
By the way, he
Yes,
never did that
hell
again.
yeah, hell yeah,
when
hell
it's
yeah,
a
that's
player
what it
I
is.
just
We
don't
make
like is,
adjustments.
oh, we can bench him because he's playing bad.
When do I say that? Stop
You
putting
don't
words in my
say
mouth.
these-
Stop putting words in my mouth.
Chill.
I know.
we
When
talk
do
about-
I say
when we talk about-
benching?
When we talking about benching players who are used to starting, and Chill gets to saying, "Oh, you're gonna lose them. You're gonna lose them mentally." And myself, because I agree with him.
I don't
say,
care.
Nah,
I don't
bump
care.
all that and be playing bad.
If there's no adjustment to be made, but that's not even the thing. That's more so if a player is getting outplayed by somebody on their team or something like that. That's those circumstances. See, real talk. You do this thing where you try to rewind and put a take against something I'm saying right now, and this is not even the same thing. We gotta talk ball right now. We can't go against takes. We gotta talk ball right now.
I'm talking if somebody's getting fried on my team,
This isn't
I'm
that
gonna sit them
instance.
down.
Yeah, see, but that's what I'm saying, coach.
So with that being said,
Coach,
real talk,
don't just go straight to, oh, you got to bench that player. That's the same shit I was talking about like 3 years ago with the Jared Vanderbilt situation. Oh, you can't play. You can't play him.
Adjust.
No, I don't. I don't think in one game. I don't think so. I don't think that you bench Rudy Gobert. I think you adjust. You run a different set. You run a different defense. You run something else. I think it's a bad idea to bench Rudy Gobert, unless it's one of those situations where Julius Randle and Naz Reid are just doing everything that we need and they're outplaying them. If you got Naz Reid and Julius Randle on the court and you don't need a Rudy Gobert out there because these two are outplaying him, then by all means, Rudy, sit your ass down.
I just think that we live in a space where if we got an awesome offensive player, a player who is awesome, and with him being awesome, we hold him in such high regard, especially if it ends up being winning, especially if it's conducive with winning. The problem with Rudy is it has resulted in winning. I mean, they've been to the Western Conference Finals a couple of times, but how differently are we talking about Rudy if the Minnesota Timberwolves end up winning? Like they end up winning the NBA championship.
So they got to do it. And Rudy got to produce doing it.
More differently than Rudy, to be fair. But
Depends what role.
And should we though, Mars? That's the question. Like, should we? Because remember, now
he's had ample opportunities though, and he hasn't.
But is every scorer respected?
I don't think Rudy Gobert has ever been on a championship.
Yes, every scorer is respected. Like when we talk about the all-time great bucket getters who only played or primarily were bucket getters, they weren't great defenders, but they were bucket getters. We hold them in high regard. I have people. I mean, prime example. Okay, Ron. When Tremaine comes, Tremaine actually thinks that Isaiah Thomas is not Isaiah Thomas. I'm sorry, Mars. Tremaine thinks that Allen Iverson's a top 10 player all time. He thinks he's top 10 all time. And Allen Iverson played primarily on the offensive side of the ball. He's self-proclaimed not being a defender, but we hold him in a ridiculously high regard. Now, answer this question for me.
Age thing, chill. Tremaine's in a different generation. These youngsters have no respect or love for Allen Iverson.
Well, AI also did a lot more than score.
I think
but it's also a basketball thing. Like we've acknowledged this millions of times. Scoring is the most valuable thing you can do.
It is.
Rudy is terrible at the most valuable thing you could do. Now, he does provide value in other areas, on the glass. He can't play finish a little bit, but on the glass and playing
in the league in field goal percentage.
That's an aesthetic thing, chill. Because if you do some, I wish Pim was here right now so we could do like a points per second with the ball type situation. And y'all can see Rudy's killing y'all and killing y'all favorite scorer in that.
The idea that they don't run anything for him, like those lobs, I think that's part of their offense. I do. I don't think that's. I think that a lot of that stuff is by design. Like we got Rudy at the rim, so we'll throw it up to him. I don't think that they do that just at the end of the shot clock. No, there's a reason why Rudy's diving to the rim and he's asking for the basketball and he's getting layups. He might not be as good as you want him to be around the rim. Like what are we like 51%, 52% on layups? I mean one of every two layups.
There was a stat I remember this stat last year. At one point in time, Rudy Gobert was 38% on layups.
Yeah.
He's at 62% this year. So
he's a poor offensive player. Like it's okay.
But hey, it's the coach's fault, I guess.
It's the panel. Religion get built on cam. Where the check throw smoke and the host go ham. You ain't never seen hoops all hit the raw. Every take got weight, every night we drop. This that barbershop. Courtside, worldwide tone. Welcome to the only show that really feel like numbers jumping like the score.